Hello Terrarians, I'm here the Hedgehog, and in today's video I'm going to play over 122 hours of Terraria. Yes, I basically played 5 straight days of Terraria and I just reached hard mode, meaning I defeated the wall of flesh and touched grass. We all know Terraria has had many final updates, so I decided to make a world that could survive the test of time. I want to play the game and create a world so unique that I can showcase it to my friends, family, and you, the viewer. I made a bunch of farms and cool builds, so watch it. Please. I created the character Aero the Hedgehog, I made the world with a decent name, a standard master mode world with a random evil biome, and large size for long-term exploration. This is the seed if anyone wants it, and let's get started. The first hour of Terraria is pretty much the same experience for anyone. Deforestation, explore the surface, die, respawn, craft wooden armor, build a hut, get mugged by zombies at night, again and again, discover that your life is corruption, find a chest, die, and finally, survive the first night. I love Terraria. After such a traumatic experience, I've learned the value of daytime and decided to explore whenever I could. I found a pyramid containing gold coins and a fort in a bottle. I mined some ores and opened a sandstone chest with a magic conch inside. An evil creature wanted to do bad things to me, so I used a recall potion, I stole some items, and used the magic conch to find the fisherman and some ocean chests for easy loot. Near the ocean, there was a living tree with more loot, and in its root, a brand new pyramid. And if that was not crazy enough, the shimmer was right there. Damn. But sadly, there was another sandstorm in a bottle. I went to the shimmer and did a full dive into the hallucinogenic liquid.
I am under the water.
Then, I drank a recall potion to deal with the hangover and find my way back home. I decided to expand the base to allow more NPCs to move in. I really took my time and used many resources I found through exploration to make the most out of nothing. When Llewellyn, the traveling merchant, arrived, selling a katana. Pretty good deal, so I continued my build. It was looking pretty good, but don't worry, perfectionists tend to make anything nice go to waste due to eternal petness.
That's right, it's the square hole.
I was fishing, I returned to the cave inside the big tree only to die like an idiot. Just kidding, I wanted the achievement. Right? Half the merchant conveniently moved in, so I used my savings to purchase a piggy bank and a bug net to collect more bait to fish. I went back to the place where I died to continue my exploration, and got brutally comboed by a mother slime. I returned there because I wanted to complete the fisherman's quest. I actually got a fish, but a cave bat obviously helped me return to spawn. What a gentleman. With no plane mine and new equipment, I ventured through the left side of the world, but it didn't last long. The traveling merchant arrived again, selling a red cape. Seeing that I was not able to defeat my enemies, I had no options but to buy it and aura farm with my new item. And completed another fishing quest. Hour 4, I decided to make an underground bunker but suddenly got distracted by grasshoppers, forgetting what I was doing completely. With a bait caught, I found the snow biome, where I obtained the pang fish. I went underground, did some grinding, find my first life crystal, and met my demise when I tried to open this chest. I made stone platforms to implement in the roof. Honestly, I dislike it. With the ores and new items I bought, I improved my rusty wood armor. Now I look fancy. I returned to the ice caverns, found a nice chest with a nice boomerang inside. This is important for later, and got killed by a nice slime. After some reflection in the past 3 hours of my life, I decided to go to the underground desert. The ice boomerang proved to be really helpful to disarm traps and zone out enemies, but good gear can make up for stupidity. Hence, I got killed by sand. Hour 5, I returned to the underground desert with the sole purpose of thriving in this disgraceful ecosystem. I mined ores and got killed, but I was almost full silver. I returned, died, I returned, gathered ores and died. Using some scare bombs and sanity that I barely had, I started to make a elevator. A blue fairy guided me to a life crystal. I found emeralds to make a hook, gold, silver, and a golden chest close by. Finally, progress. I got back to the elevator construction, finding more and more loot as I was descending. 1, 2, 3 chests, a life crystal, another one, and another one. I got back home using a magic mirror, made silver armor, and sold the items. At 6 I decided to make a bunker aligned with the elevator, so I could have more NPCs. When I noticed an evil presence was watching me. Sadly, I was unprepared, and wasn't able to defeat the Eye of Cthulhu. I was finishing some details in the bunker when the miserable Eye wanted to prank me once more. The Eye killed practically all my NPCs, allowing the demolitionist to show up. I purchased a lot of dynamite from him. I decided to use some spare resources to make a tower to store my items. That took more time than I anticipated, but in now 7, I got an okay result, and places some golden chests I found. I used the elevator to explore more. Thanks to the explosives, I was easily finding ores and loot. I found a minecart trail that made exploration a breeze. My inventory got full, so I returned back home, being able to make a full set of golden armor, when suddenly, a slime started falling from the sky. To stop assassination of his people, the Slime King spawned. I was expecting to lose this battle because I didn't have a good weapon and I was low on HP. Thanks to the nurse, I was able to actually clutch it out. Hour 8, I purchased the first pylon, just in case. I decorate the house a bit and store my loot. I used the elevator to go underground and explore places I ignored. I found an ocean chest and a shadow orb, which gave me a musketeer. I found Mr. Skellybones selling explosives close to a life crystal. I found a spider nest with treasure, a life crystal, a golden chest, another crystal, A pink fairy led me to more loot. I was finding many chests, but I was not able to find the classic Hermes boots. Until I found a golden chest with a cloud in a bottle and an Eye of Cthulhu summon. If that was not crazy enough, this text conveniently popped up. I used the magic mirror to return, but I got destroyed. After my defeat, I organized my loot and used a gravitation potion to find Sky Islands. I found 3 islands, 2 with loot and 1 had a lake. I decided to fish, getting a bunch of crates, and who would have thought, the Eye of Cthulhu made an appearance. This time, I used 8 life crystals I forgot I had, and 2 weapons I found in the underground desert. I finally defeated this bastard, upgraded my fishing rod, purchased a crazy amount of dynamite, and decided to master bait. To use the master bait to easily fish in the mushroom biome. I got a bunch of crates and spotted a golden chest close to my elevator ending. Finally, Hermes boots. I used some dynamite, finding a path to an underground desert. I found a sandstone chest and another one containing a cat statue. I returned home and placed silt on an extractinator to get more ores. But my hunger for power has not been satisfied. Hence, I decided to explore Terraria's most important biome, the jungle. I found a few wooden chests, nothing crazy, a life crystal, another cloud in a bottle, and died from explosives. Out of 10, I returned to the jungle. We got fun and games, we got everything you want. Nani, we know the name. I was finding so many enemies that it was a reasonable idea for me to grind for the jungle armor. That's when I found a queen bee hive. I decided to put my power to the test. I returned home, made jungle armor, grabbed some useful potions, and returned to the jungle. I found the staff of regrowth on my way back, found the hive, waited for my HP to get full, and started the battle. But got obliterated since I organized my inventory that I forgot the so-called useful potions. I used a few explosives in the desert to collect some sand. I made glass and glass bottles, filled them up with water, and made more potions. Since the Dryad had moved in, I decided to buy planters to make a temporary arena. Hour 11, I was building the damn arena when a goblin invasion started. I didn't have a good weapon for crowd control, so this was a pain. After being brutally tortured, I was able to defeat the goblins, and I proceeded to build the arena. It was not something incredible, but I wanted to test out my movement, so I used 2 ice summons that I had. I used the money I obtained from the fights to expand the arena, and place a few AoE objects around to get some buffs. I wanted a weapon for crowd control, so I thought my best option would be the Vile Thorn, obtained by destroying shadow orbs. I destroyed many, but I was not able to find it, nor defeat the Eater of Worlds. I destroyed more, but nothing. I got a shadow orb companion and a ball of hood. Hour 12, I decided to go to the ocean to fish and complete another quest. This fishing session was crazy. I obtained a bunch of crates, a heavy shark, which is a great pickaxe, this shark mechanical saw, and I returned home only to learn I was able to make the axe of regrowth, which is probably the best axe in the game in my humble opinion. The crates had a bunch of potions and coins. I used another gravitation potion to explore the sky islands I may have skipped. I found a celestial magnet and a shiny red balloon. Since I defeated a goblin invasion, I explored the jungle to get more treasure and find the goblin tinkerer. I got wrecked by a jungle bath whilst fighting a nymph. I purchased more dynamite, recovered my coins, and searched around. I got an anklet of the wind, a cute little turtle pet, but nothing of the guy. Then, hour 13, I finally found him. My inventory got full, so I used the magic mirror to empty slots. I decided to actually complete my elevator instead, but I somehow shut my brain off and this happened. Then I continued on the elevator and got distracted by some loot and a nice cavern spot with a little lake that was basically asking for me to fish. I completed another fishing quest and decided to set up a cavern pylon in this place. Hour 14, I was working on this building when a blood moon happened. I immediately went to the ocean. This time, I set up a hoik to safely fish, but didn't get any crazy loot. At hour 15, I had something I was somehow satisfied with, so I returned to the surface. I was clearing some trees when I saw a Abigail flower containing a first summon. I did some tweaks in the caverns when the goblin tinkerer moved in. I purchased his workshop, the rocket boots, and the pylon. With the tinkerer workshop, I was able to make the spectre boots, lightning boots, and frostbark boots. There were still some missing pieces for the final terraspark boots, so I postponed that. That's when another blood moon happened, and I went directly to the ocean. This time, I got a fishing rod upgrade and a blood rainbow. I decided to fish at the corruption biome to complete a quest and get some crates. I completed the quest and decided to do another one. I easily caught the fish. But at hour 16, I remembered the elevator actually need to reach hell to be a elevator. I reached hell, then explored a bit, but without a nightmare pickaxe or shadow keys, I wasn't able to do much. So I returned home, reforged my accessories to warding, collected ingredients to craft warm food to summon the Eater of Worlds, and with a ball of hurt, that's how I fought. I made a nightmare pickaxe, and at hour 17, I decided to make an arena to defeat Skeletron, when the Tavern Keeper suddenly appeared. I made a mana flower, and I thought I was prepared to defeat him, but oh boy, he was taking literally 1 damage. I gotta step up my game. After my ruthless defeat, I used the elevator, drank an obsidian skin potion, got a hell forge, and mined a crazy bunch of hellstone. With more than 500 hellstones ores in my name, I made hellstone boss and crafted a molten armor, volcano, molten pickaxe, molten hamax, upgraded bugnet, hellwing bow, and the nymph summon. A goblin army appeared and it was the perfect opportunity to test my power scaling. Hell yeah. Hour 18, I decided to go after the best possible accessories in Pre-Hardmode, the first one being the terraspark boots. The only item I needed was the lava charm. You can find it in the layer between the caverns and hell. I got a bone pickaxe, which is pretty good. I found a nymph, and when defeated, it drops a metal detector, which can tell if you are close to rare loot. Pretty useful in this scenario. I looted many chests, but the lava charm was nowhere to be found. My inventory was full, so I used a potion of return, stole my items, and tried again. I continued my search, but I was quite skeptical. When you least expect it, you get the item you need. With the final piece of the puzzle, I made the terraspark boots. Next accessory on my list was the bundle of balloons. I noticed the sky islands I explored didn't have enough shiny red balloons, so the only way to obtain them in this world is by fishing in sky lakes. That's what I did. I obtained great accessories, many crates, returned home when a blood moon occurred. When the blood moon ended, I went fishing again. but the 3 sky crates I had gave me 3 freaking star theories. So here we go again. I spent 400 hours collecting diamonds in Stardew Valley. This is nothing. I went back, opened crates, and got 1 shiny red balloon. Just 1 more. Hour 20, I used Masturbate and finally obtained the last balloon. That's when I noticed I still needed a blizzard in a bottle. Here we go to the ice biome. I drank a Spelunker potion and began my search. I found a good number of chests, but not what I wanted. Bro, what the hell? I hate this game. Why can't I find the item Oh, never mind. Finally, I crafted a bundle of balloons. But I had another objective, one I didn't share. To complete it, I needed to make a Hoik loop. I wanted to use it to defeat Skeleton's cousin, the Dungeon Guardian, a boss that one hit kills you and has 24k HP in Master Mode. It only drops a bone key, which summons a useless and extremely ugly pet. Hoik is a crazy mechanic discovered by players like Anti-Gravitas. It became so prominent that it was practically considered a feature of the game. The Hoik was popularized by YouTuber Iramir in one of his videos. That one video made me fall in love with Terraria and YouTube altogether 10 years ago. It felt magical to me how someone could tell such amazing stories just by playing a game and putting some text on the screen. That was the very first time I realized that no matter what I do when I grow up, I want to be creative. Thanks Hagrid, Merlin, and you. From hour 20 to hour 23, I set up a Hoik loop, and now it's time to pay homage. In hour 24, I decided to defeat Queen Bee with my new equipment, but I realized I had to either find another hive or craft an abomination to summon her. Luckily, I found the hive, but I decided to craft more summons anyways. I returned home, picked up some items and challenged her again. This time, things went smoothly. I grabbed some hive blocks, honey blocks, and analyzed my loot. I tried to fight her outside the hive, but her enraged state destroyed me quickly. And satisfied, I tried to fight Skeleton again to see if I was finally capable of defeating him for good. I got destroyed again. Instead, I tried going for the Vileplume one more time, but luck was not on my side. This time though, I took the opportunity to easily defeat the Eater of Worlds. I kept insisting on fighting Queen Bee outside the hive and Skeleton with the wrong equipment. The bee gun is not as good as I thought. In hour 25, I noticed I had a lot of suspicious looking eyes to summon the Eye of Cthulhu. I killed it 3 times and sold the loot for coins. I used the coins to purchase dynamite, a cat license and a dog license. I used the dynamite to make a decent jungle arena. With the arena, I was finally able to fight Queen Bee properly. For most of the time. My idea was to farm B-nades to kill Skeleton and the Wall of Flesh easily. In hour 26, a blood moon started, but I decided to fight the Eye of Cthulhu again. Luckily, I got a shark tooth necklace and a money throw from the blood moon. Really good items. I also noticed I had accidentally completed a full mining set just by storing all the drops I had collected so far. The mining set is really good in pre-hard mode for increasing mining speed, especially combined with the bone pickaxe. I decided to leave the mining set in the vanity slots so I could switch whenever necessary. With the blood moon finished, I proceeded to farm queen bees. I died at some point, but I obtained the honeycomb. I combined the necklace and the honeycomb to make a stinger necklace, another good accessory. I used some coins to reforge all my accessories to warding, but the Goblin Tinkerer is a money-hungry bastard. With the bee's knees, B-nades and grenades, this time I defeated Skeleton. Now we were finally allowed to access the dungeon. I found a mechanic and purchased a mechanical rod. In hour 27, I was still looting the dungeon. I was grabbing chest after the chest to make sure I wouldn't miss anything. I was marking the biome chest with torches and getting every piece of weaponry I could get my hands on. I got the Muramasa, my inventory got full, so I returned home, made a necro set to store, and crafted a spinal tap. I completed a fishing quest in caverns, and obtained the angler hat. Close to the cavern pylon, I decided to make a classic AFK farm inspired by Wayful Time. The mining set, bone pickaxe, and mining potion turned out perfect for this task. In hour 28, I was using torches to count blocks for the farm, when I suddenly got decapitated by the torch god. I didn't know that was even a thing. I used some dynamite to clear blocks and grab lava buckets to prevent mob spawns outside the farm. In hour 29, I was constructing a small central segment where I would stay, and a pyramid-shaped killing chamber for the mobs. I made a small roof section to make sure bats and flying enemies wouldn't escape their demise. I tried to set up a teleporter connecting my cabin pylon to this AFK farm, and it worked. In hour 30, I made a few adjustments to the AFK spot when a goblin army appeared. I cleaned it out easily, and continued working. I placed a bunch of golden chests to make it look fancy, added a few banners and water candles to increase spawn rate. I also did that thing with mud blocks to increase enemy spawn rates. And of course, I had to test it. By hour 31, I gave it a full 1 hour test drive to see how it performed. And it worked nicely. It's not the most optimized farm you'll ever see, but it serves its purpose. I collected the loot and returned home, and fought an Eye of Cthulhu as a way to congratulate myself. In hour 32, I completed a fishing quest and wanted to set up all the pylons I could before hard mode. So I decided to make the jungle pylon first. No matter how it would look, I wanted it to include a herb farm for potions. Using the Dryad's planters, I created the foundation of the building, which would also function as a herb farm. I chopped trees for mahogany wood and bamboo. In hour 33, I finished the foundation. In hour 34, I cleared another goblin invasion, then started working on the actual house. At first, I wasn't sure what I wanted, but I decided to go for a jungle mansion. I tried to implement a technique using minecart tracks just to make a proper set of stairs. It took me the entire hour to figure out one side. In hour 35, I worked on the rest of the shape. I took this crazy sus picture and placed it there. Then I framed the roof. And I wanted it to look unique. With mahogany walls and mud bricks, I achieved a satisfying result. In hour 36, I experimented with different blocks and colors to refine the look. In hour 37, I finally achieved a result I truly liked. In hour 38, I was still working on the house, and at that point I genuinely started questioning if it was worth it. I worked on the interior and changed the painting. Hour 39, jungle house. In hour 40, I placed a teleporter, finished the decoration, created an automatic system to collect my herbs. The house was complete. But I had one more ambition: connect it to my jungle arena. So I worked on the teleportation system, and it worked. This was the final result of the jungle house. In hour 41, it was time to make the snow pylon. I cleared the space where a random meteorite had landed and worked around it. I built a frame for a snow cabin. In hour 42, I worked on the walls and interior. In hour 43, I was satisfied with the snow cabin. To celebrate, I crafted a deer thing to summon and defeat deer clubs. Then, I tried to work on something I'm bad at: bridges. Watching tutorials was not helping much, but I was definitely getting somewhere. In hour 44, I updated my game to version 1.5, but instead of reading 1 billion patch notes and content entries, I decided to just play the game and make the snow biome look nice. I was impressed by the new Aurora Borealis effect at night and kept working on my bridge. Hour 45, I worked exclusively on this bridge, and I just couldn't be satisfied with any result. I redid it so many times at this point, but at least it was finished. In hour 46, I made a new discovery. Since this update is called Bigger and Bolder, I noticed this new crafting item, the stone chest. It collects nearby dropped items when signaled. We basically got Terraria hoppers before GTA 6, and my stupid little brain assumed that only this chest could do that, because stone, boulder, you see the correlation. So I rapidly crafted 1 billion stone chests, replaced the golden chests in the AFK farm, and wired them to a timer. It was not working at first because of the range, but once I got working, I knew I had to make a video about it, because I'm such a genius, and I made this video right here.
This new Terraria item changes AFK farms forever. This is the stone chest, added in Terraria 1.4.5. It automatically collects nearby items, so I upgraded my AFK farm.
Turns out, all chests are wireable now, and they can all work like that. which is pretty cool. But if you watched that video and crafted 1 billion stone chests because of me, my bad. With this new feature, I knew I had to adjust the AFK farm. To avoid affecting hostile mob spawns, I made a teleporter that brings an NPC to the farm whenever I want to sell items. In hour 47, I realized I could now sell a massive number of accessories and make way more profit. Now, since chests collect nearby drops, I wired everything correctly. The chests were doing their jobs, and when I reached the hour mark, I caught the Goblin Tinkerer, sold everything, and confirmed my theory. Not bad. In hour 48, I cleared another Goblin invasion, and decided to improve the jungle arena. In hour 49, I was still working on the jungle arena. After finishing it, I started preparing a future farm for life fruit, jungle bait, and Plantera bulbs. When I finished, I logged off to edit 2 YouTube shorts. What I didn't expect was for them to perform insanely well. From that moment on, I decided to make this the coolest world I ever created in Terraria. For the views. I'm not being sarcastic. In hour 50, I started building a basic mushroom pylon frame. Then, I decided to go after another important piece of equipment, the shell phone.
Oh, magic conch shell, what do we need to do to get out of the kelp forest?
Subscribe.
An incredible accessory that basically tells you everything important. I obtained a tally counter, crafted the RAK 3000. I just needed a few more items from the traveling merchant and the angler. I caught a fish, I talked to the angler, but it was not the item I wanted. I slept to pass time and tried again. Still nothing. My inventory kept filling up, so I made the wonderful decision to craft a void bag instead, which basically gives you more storage. Some bones, jungle spores, shadow scales, and there we have it, more inventory space. I slept again, completed another fishing quest, more sleep, and this time I got it. With the item, I crafted the fishy finder, combined 3 accessories to make the PDA, then the cell phone. Still not the shell phone, but we are getting there. I purchased a safe from the merchant for even more storage. With the void bag, piggy bank, and safe, I could finally carry everything I needed without constantly returning home. Hour 52, I tried to polish it more, but that's it. Honestly, it's my least favorite build so far. I'll improve it later.
It's a lie.
Hour 53, I completed another fishing quest and realized making the shell phone would be painful, so I decided to build an ocean pylon. It looked surprisingly good. It was the fastest house I've built so far. In hour 54, I crafted a lava-proof bug net using Hellstone Boss. Now, I could catch hell critters and use them as bait for lava fishing. While doing that, I used a shadow key from the dungeon to open every shadow chest I could find. I returned home to drop off the loot, reforged my accessories, and went back to lava fishing. I obtained 2 obsidian crates, neither had the demon conch, which I needed for the shell phone. So, more lava fishing. No crates. So I decided to open every shadow chest in hell. That's exactly what I did in hour 55. Then I set up a safe lava fishing spot to avoid mob interruptions. A few minutes later, I got it. With a cell phone, magic conch, and demon conch, I crafted the shell phone. Finally, with the shell phone in hand, I had another objective. A giant reform in the cavern's lair. I purchased explosives from the demolitionist, used space near the cabin pylon, made an amethyst floor, and planned a floor for every gem type. In hour 56, I cleared more space and ensured all measurements were correct. Giant trees require 16 blocks of height and at least 3 blocks of width on each side to grow properly. It must also be in the caverns or underground layer. In hour 57, I continued spinning the farm, planting more trees whenever they dropped extra corns. I used matching gen torches for each floor, and it looked amazing. I built a bridge connecting the lake to the house and the gin tree forest. It was not my best work, but I'll improve this pylon soon. In hour 58, I cleared space to fight the Old One's army at least once, so I did. I broke a few shadow orbs in a corruption biome I hadn't discovered before, got shadow scales, killed an Eye of Cthulhu for Demonite, crafted a light spane. With jungle materials, I made a blade of grass, purchased a mini shark, cleared the remaining golden chests in the dungeon, got another Muramasa, and finally used a demon altar to craft Night's Edge. In hour 59, I organized blocks and started working on a desert island. I began with a bridge over the oasis, a king slime randomly spawned. I had the idea of making a desert fort with a crane in the middle. Right below this desert, there's a shimmer, so I started thinking about lore for the building. For the first time ever, I was actually thinking about this story while building Terraria. I tried to make my little brain create something nice to look at. In hour 60, I worked on the crane and the village as a whole. I decided to add a bar, a place where townspeople could talk about all the new things happening in the world. Hour 61, I was working on the building and started using this new office block from the update. Pretty good. In hour 62, I was satisfied with the result. Below the crane, I made this little structure at the end of its hook. At the time, I had no idea what would I do there, but I was certain this would become my main base. From hour 63 onward, I had a stupid idea of making a train station that would go coast to coast. I know we have pylons that basically make this useless for transportation, but whatever. If my weird mind locks onto something like this, I won't stop. Hour 64, dig. Hour 65, dig. Hour 66, dig. But I actually worked on a simple tree farm. I needed that for wood walls and related stuff. Hour 6, no. I was decorating this train station. Hour 68, more walls, blocks, and disappointment. Hour 69, hell yeah baby, I'm just placing blocks. Hour 70, try to guess. Exactly, killing my. Hour 71, I was placing blocks again. But I noticed I didn't have enough stone. So I used the Gen 3 farm to collect stone, and it worked too well. Hour 72, I placed more blocks. Got more stone, made some fixes, then placed minecart trails. Hour 73, I destroyed some blocks at the train station. Then, I thought it would be nicer if some gaps were filled with stone to look like concrete. Why am I like this? Hour 74, I crafted a lot of stone lanterns because they look better than torches. And here's me giving a try at the train station. That's kinda crazy. Hour 75, I decided to work on a frame for a chlorophyte form in the cavern pylon base, because I have no idea. Sometimes I don't know why I do things, I just do things. Then I went AFK on the farm to earn some coins. Hour 76, I started working on a future mimic farm. I just threw a bunch of TNT close to my snow pylon and set up a perimeter with a bunch of natural dirt walls. I didn't finish, but the idea is still here. In hour 77, I worked on a gnome farm because my AFK farm is quite slow for money. The gnome farm is easy to set up and pretty profitable early on. The farm was working nicely. The gnomes spawned and instantly died from the sun while trying to reach me. I let it run for a few minutes and the results were better than my classic farm. I sold the gnomes for 1 platinum, 91 gold, 13 silver and 58 copper. Not bad. Of course, I spent my entire life savings on reforging, then I caught a spider fish and completed the quest that rewarded me with a golden fishing rod. In hour 78, I was constantly annoyed by impertinent invasions, so I tried building a simple invasion farm, and it actually works pretty well. In hour 79, I wanted to build something cool in the 8-day biome. That was my thought process. At first, I tried making a temple on a sky island, but my terraforming skills are bad, so I decided to build an airship, like the ones from Ragnarok Online. I didn't like it. In hour 80, something clicked inside me. I had the idea to recreate something from my childhood. In Chrono Trigger, a Super Nintendo classic RPG, there's a time machine like Jet named Epoch, and at the time, I thought the airship was the coolest thing ever. I followed a 2D sprite model I found online and tried to make it look good in Terraria. In hour 81, I purchased a bunch of paint. I built the vertical stabilizer or whatever this thing is, then I tried to imagine the rest of the shape and swapped some blocks. In hour 82, I adjusted some measurements to make it look right in Terraria. My idea was to keep the interior visible, so I started working on it, beginning with the cockpit. By hour 83, I made a constant engine, then a bedroom for myself, and I was almost done. In hour 84, I wanted to create doors using teleporters. The idea was to give the illusion that we are entering the interior of the airship. So I chose a spot below the train station until I reached the shimmer background. Then I started building a room. I had to adjust a few things, but in hour 85, everything was working according to plan. Then I started working in another room, then another, and then another. Finally, in hour 86, I wanted to make the main base of operations. In hour 87, I worked on the interior of the main entrance, placed crafting stations, chests, you know, the important stuff. I got an Aether pylon, I didn't even know that was possible. I placed mannequins to showcase armor sets. By hour 88, I discovered the painter sells illuminant coating and echo coating when you create a mini graveyard biome. That was important for detailing the base. I was low on money for the new coatings, so I tested the invasion form during a blood moon. Then I used the gnome form. In hour 89, I was back at the gnome form. I applied a layer of luminant coating around the airship. Then, using echo coating combined with the luminant coating, I made trophies and relics flicker like this. It looked insane. By hour 90, I transferred all my items from spawn to the epoch. In hour 91, I wanted to fill this area with unique chests. So I explored the desert and jungle looking for them. I found the jungle temple and used a hoik just to check things out. I tested the invasion farm with goblins, then during a blood moon, and got new drops thanks to that. Hour 92, I paused improvements on the epoch for a while, then worked more on the snow pylon. I installed teleporters for the mimic farm, built a safe fishing spot in a nearby sky lake, collected wood from my low-budget tree farm, and built a small train station right below the elevator. In hour 93, for absolutely no reason, I decided to build a farm in the corruption biome for buggers and Souls of Night for hard mode. I saw a design that uses a minecart. You ride back and forth in a minecart, soul eaters fall into lava, dirt drops go straight into wire chests. Very civilized. In hour 94, I did some terraforming to manage corruption spread and improve spawn rates. I tried using infested dirt walls and mud for increased spawn rates. It's not perfect, but it works. In hour 95, I decided to renovate the cavern pylon base, so I rebuilt the house, added windows, new decorations. It looks much better. In hour 96, I tried to improve the chlorophyte farm design. According to a comment, it won't work properly when the tide comes, so that's great. I redesigned the bridge, and I think that part looks nice. In hour 97, I built some scaffolding around the farm. I finally completed the torches for every Gen 3, and it looked fantastic. By hour 98, everything was finished. You can fish, use the train station, access the AFK farm, teleport an NPC to sell items, harvest the Gen 3 farm. Wonderful. Hour 99, I decided to improve my ocean pylon. I built a small harbor, then started constructing a ship. I'm pretty bad at building ships, mostly because I don't know how they work. But I took my time figuring out the shape, and it was starting to look decent. In hour 100, the ship was looking pretty good, and I was adding a lot of detail. In hour 101, I connected the train station to the ocean outpost. In hour 102, I started building a secret pirate cove, filled with gold, chests, and fancy decorations. In hour 103, I tried to create a custom gold sword, but I struggled a lot. In hour 104, I finally made this. Pretty cool. After that, I made some adjustments to the desert fort, to tweak the crane a bit, and by hour 105, we had this. In hour 106, I decided to make the Sky Lake fishing spot fancier. I had no idea why, but then again, why do we keep playing Terraria anyway? What is the purpose of life? In hour 107, I wanted to finish the interior of the main room of the epoch, and it looked wonderful. By hour 108, I wanted Spawn to look nicer, so I destroyed everything. And when everything was gone, I started measuring for a fortress. I spent the entirety of hour 109 building this tower. By hour 110, I built the second tower. And the school gate, I destroyed the arena. Hour 111, I built adjacent structures for the fortress, like this shop and this church. In hour 112, I added a secret passage inside the shop. The idea was that you would hide the elevator. I tried to make the roof look cooler. That was a mistake, because in hour 113, I kept working on this damn roof. Eventually, I ignored it, increased the height of the towers, and created a small interconnection between them. In hour 114, I wanted the small village to feel like it was inside the fortress, so I built a wall using actuated blocks to create that illusion. In hour 115, I finished the wall. Started building organic trees inside the fortress to add color and contrast to this grey abomination. I wasn't satisfied with some of them, so in hour 116, I let some natural trees grow instead. Much better. In hour 117, I built a random crane to make the village feel more dynamic. Then, I started working on the interior. In hour 118, I added more details and improved the look of the elevator. In hour 119, some fine adjustments. In hour 120, I called in the NPCs, did some painting, and of course, used camera mode to show everything to my friends. I was proud. Hour 121, I just wanted to enter hard mode and post this video. So I used the gnome farm, bought dynamite, and prepared for corruption and halo spread. I collected every piece of loot I could find. When my map looked like this, I was satisfied. By hour 122, finally, hard mode. I took the demon heart and then touched some grass.